Welcome to our team call, everyone. It is August 11th, and tonight we have a very special guest. We have Deb Baska. Is that how you say your last name? Baska? You're muted, sorry.
Baska, yes.
Baska, okay. Deb, you were on the a Super Saturday video once, weren't you?
Yep. I was
Yeah,
a success story.
yes, I remember that. And ever since then, I was like, I want her to speak to my team because it is so inspiring. I'm going to introduce her in a couple minutes. I just have a quick not even presentation, just a slide for you guys to highlight certain things that are happening. So I will go over that first. Before I go over some updates and things that are happening, I wanted to recognize those of you that are on the way to Success Club. We do have 6 people now that are at Success Club 5 or higher. We have Michelle Aquino, Julianne Lundy, Nicole Faulkner, Sandy Visnoff or Sandy Glant, and Roxy Rayborn and Idris Valenzuela. Everyone else on here is working towards it. You guys have helped at least one person, so that is awesome. And when I was updating this, we had 13 people on this list last week. Now we have 45, and 6 of you guys are already at Success Club on August 11th. So that is something to be proud of if you're on this list. And even if you're not, I do want to point out I am not on this list yet, you guys. So for those of you that are at 0, you still have so much time. I am not frustrated or discouraged at all at this point in the month. I know that I'm going to hit Success Club 10. So if you're not on this list, don't feel discouraged. But if you are, huge congratulations and keep pushing hard to hit Success Club. Next, a couple reminders for you guys. We have 8 different challenge packs on sale this month, which is huge. This is massive. We only ever usually have 2 on sale. So get familiar with the ones that are on sale, and I have them listed here. Do not share this photo. Do not share a stock photo from corporate or anything like that. I suggest that you guys learn about each one so that you can either recommend them during your personal conversations and or do one of the workouts on a live video or talk about it on a live video, or even the containers come with Country Heat, 21-Day Fix, 21-Day Fix Extreme, and I believe they come with size or 22-minute hardcore. So get familiar with that and post about it in a live video or a regular video or a post. Make sure you're aware of these, because the fact that they're on sale for the cheapest that any challenge pack will ever go on sale for is a huge perk. So make sure you guys know about that and are aware of them so that when you talk to people about their goals, you at least recommend one of the ones that are on sale. Next, this week's focus, participate in your team cup if you're on one. I know it's easy if you're not super engaged with your team cup to kind of forget about it or forget about the goals of winning the certain prizes or helping a certain number of people. So if you guys are on a team cup, make sure you message them and are plugged into a group or a message thread or a text thread, whatever it is. Get engaged. So if you are not communicating with your team cup, message them right after this call just to say, hey, how's everyone doing, and get the ball rolling. If you are, awesome. I do challenge you guys to challenge each other. And one thing that I challenged my team cup to do last night was to come up with a Throwback Thursday post to post sometime today where you're highlighting changes in you, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, some sort of challenge or change. And at the end, there's a call to action. So I'm looking for 4 women to join my online fitness accountability group, or I'm looking for this, some sort of call to action so they take action on your post and we can then reach out to them. And lastly, I always promote my challenge groups the first 2 weeks of the month. So just an update, if you're not already, promote an upcoming fitness group. If you're not hosting one, either start hosting one or message your upline coach so that you can co-host, or message me and you can join mine and we can be inviting to the same group. And lastly, some extra tidbits is we have a sneak peek into coaching event on August 18th. So that's our 1-hour event where every 5 to 6 minutes or so, 6 leaders on our team upload a new video on something about coaching. So what we do, the cost to signing up, coaching myths is one of my favorite ones, Shakeology, things like that. So start inviting people to that. I won't officially start doing posts for that until Monday. So usually like 4 days beforehand. Also, I don't know if you've seen, but corporate is now sending out Shakeology home direct notices, which is incredible because I don't know about you guys, but every Monday I used to send notices to everyone who had purchased a challenge pack 1 month earlier so they would know that their Shakeology was going to ship. And they could either cancel their order, change flavors, or pause their order. And now Beachbody is sending that out on behalf of us, so we do not need to worry about that. However, it does not give the option to sign up as a discount coach. I think it only says like you can modify your order here, and it gives them a link. So I do recommend staying in contact with people who purchase challenge packs and letting them know still that they can sign up if they love Shakeology and are loving their results, which hopefully they do. They can still sign up as a discount coach through you. That's your job. You have to be there to ask them that question. And lastly, we have the health bet. I don't know if you guys saw the post I did today, or Carl Deichler has been posting about it. It's in our online office. It's everywhere. It's starting September 5th through October 2nd. And this is very similar to the diet bet. I know a couple coaches on our team have actually done the diet bet, but all you have to do is participate in a My Challenge Tracker group. So us as coaches need to be hosting a group or participating in a group between those dates, and you are entered to win if you work out drink your Shakeology 5 days a week and exercise 3 to 4 days a week. And you need to be logging it every single day that you're doing those things. And if you do that, you'll be entered to win a huge cash pot up to $3 million. And it's split between everyone that does that. So it is huge. Make sure there's a lot more details, but that's the basics. Make sure you're aware of that so that you can promote it, because that's a whole another level of accountability and prizes of money that people can be winning. And so I think that's going to be huge in attracting different people and people who haven't yet committed to us. All right, so now for the fun part. We have Deb Baska on our call. This photo I chose is her elite photo. So those of you that didn't go to Summit, they had these like comic book photos of every elite coach, and I thought they were so cool, and I was jealous I didn't have one. So I used hers. She is an incredible coach. She is a 10-star in her first business center, 1-star in her second business center. She's 4-time elite coach, Success Club 10 legend, meaning she hit Success Club 10 55 months in a row. To be a legend, it's at least 24 months. 55 months, you guys, of helping 5 people at least or more. And she's been a full-time coach for 5 years. And she's going to talk to us about the 5 difference makers of successful coaches and what that means and who it is and how you guys can become that too. So Deb, you can take it away and share a little bit of your story or dive right into your presentation.
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen. And thank you so much for having me on the call. I am going to share my story, but I'm going to do that as a part of my presentation once I find my PowerPoint. There we go. There we go. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to jump right into it because it kind of just all flows together and you'll get to know a little bit about me. But this is really, I put this together really directed towards new coaches, but it's also, I found a great reminder for existing coaches, people that have maybe been doing this for a little while and just need to tweak some things or be reminded of really what it takes to separate those that do from those that don't in this business. And I know I really had to dig down way back deep 5 years ago to try to figure out what is it that I did that gave me the staying power to still be here this many years later. I mean, I can remember when I was the new kid on the block, and now I'm just like the old tenured veteran. So I start out with my story of once upon a time, there was a Beachbody coach. And that is me, and that is my daughter. And when I signed up as a coach, I really signed up for a discount. I had used the products for a couple of years. My husband and I, we bought the product from the infomercial, P90X. We paid on the payment plan. We didn't use Shakeology. Then I did Insanity, and I think I bought that from eBay. And then I did TurboFire, and I did buy that from Team Beachbody. And when I decided I wanted to go into my next program, I decided that I wanted to also try Shakeology. And by this time, there were several, people on Facebook that were talking with me, and they were coaches. And so one of them offered me a sample, and I took that sample. I didn't try it right away. Actually stuck it in a drawer. And she messaged me and asked me again how I liked it. So I tried it. I liked it. I said, I can do this. Even though I don't drink my meals and I'm not a shake person, I wanted the nutrition. So my story is not a weight loss story. It's more of a kind of more of an internal transformation story. So if there are, a lot of coaches that, don't have these amazing before and after pictures, and I'm one of them, but you can still be successful. So this Beachbody coach, she was working a full-time job in corporate America. I was a vice president. I'd been with my company almost 20 years, 2 kids and a stepson. So 3 kids, 3 dogs, a husband, a 70-hour-a-week job, lots of responsibility, lots of stress. But through Beachbody, I found my fitness again. And so I'd basically taken a 10-year hiatus from fitness. So, Beachbody, again, as a, being a product of the product, I was already that. So when I signed up to be this Beachbody coach, I didn't have high expectations. I even told my sponsor, don't really expect much from me. I am, I'm a very busy lady. I have a very big job. Don't expect much. And of course she puts me on an inside leg, right? Because not expecting much from this coach, right? So anyway, that's another story, but that's all good. It's all been good. So when I became a coach and started getting connected with the coach community, it became very apparent that I loved this. Corporate America, my job was sucking the life out of me. I didn't know there was another way to make a living. I had done all the things I'd been told to do all my life, which was, get good grades in high school, get a scholarship to college, get good grades in college, go get yourself a nice job in corporate America, work your way up the corporate ladder, be a powerful woman, wear your pumps and your pantsuits and your pantyhose, and that's success. And I had achieved that. Oh boy. It was kind of making me like a mental hot mess though by this time. And I had just turned 40. So I was really at this pivotal point in my life. If you follow my story, I had just entered a sobriety. So after, several years of drinking myself into oblivion, I had taken that step, turned 40, and then decided I wanted to change my fitness. And that led me to Beachbody. So I wasn't going to do anything with this, but I loved the community. So that's really important, is to connect your coaches immediately to the community. But when I found out that this Success Club trip thing that I didn't even know anything about, I didn't know what Success Club was. I certainly didn't think I was successful, nor that it applied to me. But I heard that this trip was to Atlantis, Bahamas. And that's where this picture is taken. And on our dream board at our house, not even a dream board, we had cut out a magazine ad for Atlantis, Bahamas. And we had it blown up and framed and put behind glass, and it was right on the way to the kitchen. We had to walk by it every day. And our kids, since they were like 10 and 12, were like, we're going to go there someday, and we're going to visualize that into being, because we had all just watched that movie, The Secret, and that's where you brought things into existence, right? As you visualize them. And so, 2 to 3 years later, we were still looking at that picture, but then this happened. So how did I get to that trip? How did I get there? The first thing I want to talk about is mental mindset. This is a huge difference maker. When I think about, what really got me from that very traditional, narrow-minded way of thinking about success and career, into doing something so non-traditional and really so far out of my comfort zone and so different from what I was taught to do. It all has to do with mental mindset. And if you're rolling your eyes because you're so sick of hearing about personal development, then I'm sorry. But I was just listening to, for the second time, that book 10X, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And he made the comment that the average worker in America, or corporate worker, reads one book, less than one book a year. The average CEO in corporate America reads over 60 books a year. The average CEO makes 319 times more income than the average corporate worker. Well, there's a correlation to this. Readers are leaders, right? Knowledge is power. So personal development musts, that I started reading right away are these 5 books. The very first book I read was The Slight Edge. And I had it on my desk, but I think I put it back. But it's similar to The Compound Effect, which I know we recommend a lot. Jeff Olson is the author of The Slight Edge, and he actually mentored under Darren Hardy. So it's very, very similar. I just love this book. It's a little shorter, and it just seems a little easier to read. But again, it was my first one. I was told by my sponsor, if you want to do something with this business, you've got to do personal development. And I went into it so reluctantly because I was a busy woman and I like to read. I'm an avid reader, but I read for relaxation. And Danielle Steele and James Patterson, that's what I wanted to do at the end of my busy, stressful day at work, not read Jeff Olson and Darren Hardy and Brian Tracy. I didn't even know who those people were at the time. But I have to say that completely changed my life. With The Slight Edge, I started noticing changes in my own outlook, my own behavior right away at work and at home. The next book I read was Go for No, Yes is the Destination. That really taught me not to be so afraid because I'm a raving introvert. I am very competitive. I don't like rejection. I've shied away from rejection and failure all my life. And so, being afraid to fail in this business was something that was very much on my mind. And I have had times in my past where I didn't try for things that I really, really wanted because I was afraid to fail. And so this book was really instrumental, even today, in how I run my business. Eat That Frog, of course, I know you're all familiar with these, but I'm a huge procrastinator. I still am, and I still have to tell myself to eat that frog every single day. You got to know what your frog is, number one. So that was very important. And then GoPro, I'm skipping to that. That was, that's Eric Worre. That really taught me that network marketing is okay, and it's not a nasty business that, slimy people do. That it's like the best business in the world. Why wouldn't anybody want to do this? And that's the way I think about the business when I'm talking to people is why wouldn't anybody want to do this? The book I skipped over was The Attractor Factor, and I skipped over that because that was really, really where I started building my mental mindset mojo. And I talk about that a lot with my coaches, my mental mindset mojo. I truly believe that you have to build your mental mindset muscle as much as you have to build your physical muscle. And this, again, was something I never did, not as corporate America. I wasn't the CEO of my corporate job, but I was a vice president. And I can assure you, I was not reading these kinds of books. So, it's just made all the difference in the world. But The Attractor Factor just taught me that your mindset is everything. What you think about comes about. And yes, visualizing. I mean, that's what the book that got me from my first year as a coach. That my first full year, it got me to elite, 2-star elite. When I didn't even have that on my roadmap. That's how I got there. I did a 52 book challenge last year, and I have my book list here. It's on my blogs if you want to check it out. I've got everything listed. I'm also on Goodreads. So if you're on Goodreads, it's a little app you can do on your phone. And I love that because I can see what other people are reading and I can add things to my list. And as soon as somebody like in one of our coaching groups mentions a book they've read, I just go right there onto my phone and I add it. But mental mindset is the very first thing. And I look at coaches today that, I work with, and I try to understand, why did they come into this wanting it so badly, and then nothing happens for them. And it's really all goes back to your mental mindset. It goes back to what they believe about themselves, what they believe about what they're doing, and, what they believe about this company. And, like today, I have all these affirmations stuck all over my computer and on my whiteboard. So that's a big difference maker, personal development. The second difference maker, I believe, is getting engaged. And we just had Super Saturday, and I don't mean getting engaged to get married. I don't mean you have to be married to do this. I mean getting engaged with your community, because I remember when I was a coach, I thought that I was the only coach in Kansas City. And I was a coach for probably 6 months or so before I even knew we had a Team Beachbody Kansas City. But we just had our Super Saturday. Hopefully you all went. Hopefully you understand how important it is to stay engaged, because we do this business by ourselves in our home from our computer so much of the time. And especially, when you're working another job and, you're not getting people telling you this is a great thing to do. You're getting people kind of looking at you like, really, what? And, oh, you're trying to sell me something else. And isn't that one of those pyramid things? Getting engaged and staying engaged with your tribe, with your like-minded community is really, really important. National wake-up calls. I got on that national wake-up call every Monday. I did it. It was at lunchtime when I started. And so I started taking my lunch hour, which is something I didn't do. And of course, when you're a vice president, you're not supposed to take lunch hour. You're supposed to just work from, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But I started taking my lunch hour, and I would go out into my car and I would listen to the national wake-up call. And those calls are when I started to dream. I started to envision something different because, like I said, I was in this job and I didn't know there was any other way to make a living, to make a good living. I mean, I was making a 6-figure income in my job. I didn't know there was any other way to do that. And now I have all these people every week from all different walks of life, cocktail waitresses and lawyers and orthodontists and, single moms and, people that have filed bankruptcy. All these people are telling me that there's a different way to make a significant income, but even more important, to matter, to really matter in the world. And that really was attractive to me. Super Saturdays, I've gone to every Super Saturday for the last 5 years. And it's not because I don't have a life. It's not because I'm not busy. 4 times a year, I put it on my calendar and I make it be a business meeting that I will not miss. I had a marathon or half marathon that I signed up for one time that was before Super Saturday, and I was leading the Super Saturday, and I went and did my half marathon, and then I went and did Super Saturday. Now, there was a lot of other coaches in Kansas City that said, oh, I can't come because I'm doing this half marathon. I'm like, so? That's my mindset is, so this is your business. This is what you do. We have these things scheduled out a year in advance. Go look in your Coach Online office and see the next dates. If they're not on your calendar now and you aren't scheduling everything around that, then you're not really serious about your business. That's a difference maker. Going to Summit, obviously, those of you that didn't go to this past one, I know you're going to the next one because that was a huge thing for me. When I signed up right before the Summit of that year and I saw it all happen on Facebook and I was like, oh my gosh, I am going. That was like really the big things. Like, I want to be a coach because I want to go to that. Team Cup Challenge, that was a huge, huge difference maker for me. And I know we're in the middle of one right now, but I remember just a couple weeks after I signed up, I saw this in the big coach page. There's this Team Cup Challenge, a Success Club thing. And I didn't pay any attention because I'm not successful. That doesn't apply to me. I don't even know what a Success Club point is. I don't know anybody, any other coaches, and I'm not getting on a team because I don't like to be on teams. I'm a lone wolf kind of person. But my sponsor said everyone needs to get on a team. And so, okay, well, she said I should. And she said it's okay that I'm not successful. I don't even know what this stuff is, so I'm going to do it. That really changed, I think, a lot with my business. That's how I got to that Success Club trip because I learned right away. It's like trial by fire. I learned what Success Club is. I learned what a Success Club point was. I learned how to talk to people. I was the team captain of that team because nobody wanted to be. We were just all a bunch of newbie coaches. I won a t-shirt. I was pretty excited about that. You know what? None of the coaches on that team are even coaches anymore. What is the difference makers? Yeah, they were on that team, but again, what were they doing? I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you want to be here for the long haul, these are all the things that, again, the only thing I can speak to as to what is different about me than about all the other coaches that signed up when I did are these things I'm telling you now. Team calls, get on those team calls, just like you are here. I really advise getting on them live if at all possible. I did that as a new coach. I was always on the team calls live. And my coach had an accountability call, and I can still remember. It was this just dry, just really mundane call, and all we would do is get on and we would report our numbers, our invites, our shares, or whatever, and then our personal development takeaways. And you know what? I was always on that call, and I was always ready for it. Team training, I can always tell who does the team training and who doesn't, and who says they did, but who didn't. Take ownership of your business. Take advantage of what's out there. Your Coach Online Office has so much better resources than they did when I signed on. I mean, you as a new coach could learn everything you need to know with our wonderfully revamped new coach training module. But in addition, I know Samantha and your team has amazing training as well. So you should be, getting on board with all of that. On my team, we do specialized training. Like we'll do branding training. We'll do, how to post on Facebook training. We'll do little small things. And the people that get engaged in those things, whether it's an accountability training or a skills building training or new coach training, emerald training, diamond training, those coaches have more longevity over time and they do have more success. It's just proven. So getting engaged. Own it. That's the third thing. And, one of the things that I did is I set non-negotiable goals, and that's how I teach my team as well. When I first learned what Success Club was and I was told this is what you need to do to be successful, then I did it. I just did it. It wasn't easy. I was, on the last day of the month, I would be trying to figure out how I was going to pull a coin out of my hat. And we didn't have challenge packs back then. It was just Shakeology, 1 point. Or if you signed a coach with Shakeology, that was 2 points. And you had to sign at least one coach a month. So to hit Success Club with my 55 months and Success Club, I had to sign a coach every month, my first however many months as a coach, until they took that off the requirements. And I did it because I was told this is what you need to do to be successful. Successful coaches make Success Club. Tracking daily, weekly, monthly goals. I mentioned that, my coach taught me from the very beginning, track your invites, track your shares. And you know what? I went through a period after that new coach phase where I didn't track anymore. And things were just kind of willy-nilly. And then I started working with a corporate mentor and they made me turn in a BAT. I'm like, okay, I'm already a 2-star diamond and you're making me do a BAT. Well, that changed the next year. That, 5-star, second time elite. I mean, that changed a lot of things for me. And even today, when I'm not tracking, I don't do as well with my business, right? I mean, these are just the very simple things that, seasoned coaches and new coaches do if you want longevity. But, setting those non-negotiable goals and tracking, being accountable to yourself and others. That accountability call that I mentioned was so dry, and I just remember this is such a pain. I mean, I have to spend I'm a very busy woman working a very busy job, and I have to get on Tuesday evenings in the middle of the evening and do this call. And I was so bored with it, but you know what? Those calls, there's only one other coach that is still around today. And guess what? She's also an elite coach. She and we were always on that call. We were always ready. I was not going to be the person that got on that call and didn't have my numbers done. If my coach said you need to do this many invites, this many shares, this many this is, this many that's, then I did it. And I did more actually. But there were coaches that got on that call and didn't have their numbers done. And they would say, oh, my kid went back to school today. And so I was busy taking pictures and doing all that. Or, oh, we did, my dog had to go to the vet because he swallowed a nickel and I didn't get my stuff done. They would get on the call and they wouldn't have their numbers done. I made sure I wasn't going to be that person. And guess what? Then people started not getting on the call. So it's one thing to get on the call and fess up and say, well, I didn't get it done, but I'm still here. But then there's the people that started dropping off the calls because they weren't doing their stuff, right? They aren't around anymore. They weren't accountable to themselves or to others. That's why we have success partners. That's why we have accountability groups. And sometimes those accountability groups, people think, oh, I don't really need anybody looking over my shoulder. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't legitimately. But I've had coaches on my team. They're like, I don't want to be in those groups because I don't need a babysitter. Well, I'm not a babysitter. I don't babysit, but people that have other eyes on what they're doing other than their own, they tend to be more successful. That's just my experience. Number 4, this is huge, and I should have it first, or I should have it last, but my biggest difference maker, I think, is just doing what you're told to do. Like I said, my sponsor told me, get on a team cup. My sponsor told me to read that stinky old personal development, that boring stuff, which I now am absolutely like addicted to. It's like my drug. It is my drug. But she told me to do it, so I did it. You know, what are you afraid to do? Why are you not doing what you're being told to do? Why are you not taking Samantha's advice or your upline advice or Carl Deichler's advice when he said at Summit, invite everyone? Why are you not? You know, what are you not doing in your business? You know, a lot of times it's not inviting to the business because what are people going to think of us? You know, what is this? You know, they're going to think I'm doing this weird thing. They're going to think I'm trying to sell them something. But that's, if you've done all these other things, if you have your mental mindset muscle and you have your accountability and you're the kind of person that says, I am not going to show up and not have shown up. That's a difference maker. Success leaves tracks. It absolutely does. You know, the thing about it is, again, with the non-negotiable goals, you just have to push through and do it. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Courage is doing those things that make you afraid. That makes you courageous. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather be defined as courageous than afraid. So that's just something that, I have these same things. I was in a push group with Christine Dwyer. She's my upline. And she had us doing these inviting and these things that made me so uncomfortable. She had us get on the phone. And again, I'm a raging introvert. If you see those little memes and little things about, introverts and phone calls, that's me. Don't call me. I will see and I will push decline. And then I will text you and say, what do you want? Because I don't want to talk to you on the phone. But she had us making phone calls. Well, you know what? When Christine Dwyer tells you to do something, I pretty much think that you should do it because she knows what she's talking about. And so, it just depends on how badly you want this business. And I have enough said on that. But the final point is, and this is a really, really, really huge thing, is you have to be hungry. I used to talk about the why that made you cry, and then I listened to a Darren Hardy, and he hit the title of that was Get Pissed. If you haven't listened to that, look it up in his archives. It was Get Pissed. And oh my gosh, I listened to that. I was in the car and I was like, but yeah, oh yeah. I was like pounding the steering wheel. I'm like, that's right. I'm pissed about that. That makes me pissed. And I started telling my coaches about that, and that really resonated to them. They're like, wow, I can really relate to that, because, for me, my why that made me cry, that got me pissed was corporate America. Man, it made me pissed to think about going back there. I am not doing that again. And that was my why. Do you have a vision for what you want this to be in your life? You need to envision, and this is what I recommend, and write this down to do later. But think about your life and the vision that you have for your life. And what, not the life that you have now, doing what you're doing, but the life that you envision, ideally. And think about how Beachbody will get you there versus doing what you're doing today won't. Right? That's what this is all about. And what I find is that this is really the key thing that I see happen, and I alluded to it earlier. Coaches come on and they say, I want this. I want what you have. Oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. And when you said that on your post, it just spoke to me, and that's exactly how I feel. And, they get started in the business, and I'm like, wow, this can totally change your life. And I'm so excited for you to start on this journey. But they're not hungry. They're not hungry enough. And it goes back to all the things I told you. It starts with that mental mindset mojo. They don't really believe that their life can change, and they don't really want to do what they need to do to change it. Their vision, the vision for their ideal life, for, being home with my kids and not having to put them in daycare anymore, and my husband no longer having to be deployed and work in these dangerous jobs, and having enough money so that we don't have to, tell our kids that we can't, have this week. We have to have that instead. All these things that people say they want, they don't really have that vision. They're not hungry for it because they're comfortable. And even if your life is really uncomfortable, like, really, like you don't have, the money to do certain things, and you have to scrimp and save for your groceries, and if that's uncomfortable, but it's still more comfortable than doing something so dramatically different that you will be asked to do to be a successful Beachbody coach. And that's where I see the biggest difference maker is. People aren't hungry to do this. And I sometimes think I was, 6 months into being a coach, I was let go from my job, my 20-year job, I worked so hard to get here, dream life job. I was let go from that job. And I sometimes I wonder to myself, because I had already started doing my business, and I started thinking, well, this would be a pretty cool thing to do someday. And I started sending out some different resumes, because I'm like, this job sucks. Maybe I can go do something like what I'm doing now, but with a different company that I like better. But it was really half-hearted. It was really half-hearted because I was comfortable. I was making enough money. I was familiar with my life. I wonder, I know how hard it is to be hungry when you're tired at the end of the day and you're stressed and your husband's like, what are you doing on Facebook again? And, you get up already at 4:00 in the morning to get your workout done. Now you're saying I have to get up 30 minutes earlier to do my power hour. I know what it's like, but you just have to be so hungry for something different. You have to have that belief. You have to have the belief that you can. You have to have the belief in the products. You have to have the belief that this business works and that it can work for you. So I ask you, do you have a why about which you're fierce? Just fierce. Because if you don't, then why bother? If your why does not make you pissed, if it's something if you're not fierce about it, then why bother? You're not going to bother. And that's what I see happens time and time again with new coaches that come on and say they want what I have, they want what Samantha has, but they're just not fierce about it at the end of the day. So with all of that, 5 difference makers, those are the things that I truly believe are what gave me longevity. Because like I said, the coaches that weren't doing those things, they're not here anymore. They're not even around. So once upon a time, there was a coach, and she became a 4-time elite coach. Last year, I was number 68 out of 400,000. I'm a full-time Beachbody coach. I'm living a dream that I never even knew could exist. And I believe those are the 5 difference makers.
That was awesome. I took so many notes. So I'll open it up to you guys first. Do you guys have any questions? You can type it in the chat box or unmute yourself. I have a couple, but I'll let you guys take it away.
I'm curious to know how many coaches are new, in their first 90 days still.
So raise your hand if you're in your first 90 days of coaching.
No hands?
There's one hand, and then I think
2 hands.
Others that their video is not on.
3 hands, yeah.
3 people. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the tips were awesome for new coaches. Like if you're new, then this is perfect. You need to find that hunger and you need to start doing personal development if you're not. But I also think it's great for those of us that are emerald and above. What I think is so important about these team calls is it's so great to hear all of this knowledge, but it's more important because it's different than what I'm telling you guys, and you're hearing it from someone else, and we need to pass it down to our team. We need to pass it down to our new coaches. Even if they are discount coaches, get them to start doing personal development. Get them to be fierce about their fitness goals. Just passing it down. Someone said, don't be a hoarder of knowledge or a hoarder of information. Share this with your team, and that's what will help you grow is, getting them fierce, getting them excited about their goals, and sharing what you just learned on this team call.
I think getting your challengers involved in personal development is a really great, smart move, and I see a lot of coaches doing that, and myself included, because, even with weight loss, especially with weight loss, how people feel about themselves, that's why so many, even of our challengers, don't finish the race, because your mental mindset is just not there. So I think it's just, that's why it starts, my slides start with that, because that's really the difference maker, I think, for success in any area of your life.
Yeah. And Sandy says when her coaches start doing personal development, she can totally see a difference in their coaching. And that's so true, guys. And you'll see a difference too in your own behavior. Deb talks about that, but your own behaviors and your own actions. And then suddenly your Success Club points will be higher. And suddenly you're talking to more people. And suddenly you're getting way more engagement on your posts. So yeah, it's so important.
Somebody asked what the first book that you should read is. And like I said, I read, The Slight Edge. And I know a lot of times we recommend The Compound Effect. But I was advised this year by my mentor to, he said, what area in your life do you feel like you need the most work on? And, I told him, and he's like, so what area in your business? And so I told him, and he goes, so what personal development are you doing to help you with that? And I was like, none. Because I was reading other books, but it was really more about, I don't know, it wasn't about that particular thing. And so I was like, that's a good point. So I immediately started, I went to my Goodreads list and I started looking at all the leadership that was on leadership, what are all the leadership books that I had. And I'm like, okay. And it's really changed how I approach my business this year. So that's one thing, I'm sure Samantha has recommendations on, whatever, if it's go for no, if it's fear of rejection, if it's not being confident with presenting the network marketing, and there's all kinds of things that she could recommend for that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's based on your struggle area. And then also I found there's two different types of PD books. There's motivation and inspiration, and then there's business tips.
Right.
And I think it's great to have both because at least for me, I thrive off of the motivation. Like Megan says, you're a badass, changed her life. Me too. That was the one that decided that made me believe and decide that I could do this full time. But I know, like, I'm reading 10X Rule and Contagious and Jab, 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 Right Hook. So that's all like business and marketing tips. So balance it out. And if you're not into one, switch it up and go to another one. Come back to that one. But do something that you like enjoy reading, I would say.
It's funny because you mentioned 10X as being the business book, and that's, we're doing that in our diamond training right now. But I am getting so much out of it personally. And I just keep telling my husband, I'm like, we are going to 10X our life, honey. I made a goal. We're 10Xing our marriage and we're 10Xing this. And he's just like, I said, you need to get that. And we should read this together so we can be on the same page. Because if I'm 10Xing and you're not, it's going to be, So yeah, I'm like, I'm excited. I mean,
yeah,
that stuff excites me.
That's a good one. It's right in the middle because it's like, so like, yeah, I want to do massive results, or I want massive results. I'm going to take massive action, but it's also like, okay, do these things.
Well, and I'm listening to it on audio, and this is just an aside, and I love listening to him on Audible. Grant Cardone has just got this fun little accent, and he's got this one chapter, and he calls, well, in the book, it's not called this, but this is what I wanted to call it. It's called Don't Be a Little Bitch. And so I just, I'm like, I asked the people that read, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just read this chapter. I'm like, I want to get the audio now so I can hear that.
That's awesome.
I digress. I'm 10Xing right now as we sit here. Can you tell?
Okay, Ashley, you're looking for PD books. I wrote down the link to Deb's website, so I will send you that. She has 52 books or more on there, so I'll send you that. Sandy, I started a Success Club book club. Oh, I love that idea.
Boo club?
Boo club. He's on a plane. We can cut her some slack. So one question I had for you in a different topic is, what tracking system do you use? Because I know some people do like Google Spreadsheets or Asana, Streak. What do you do to track your business?
I've been all over the board. I am just always looking for the perfect tracking system. Traditionally, I've used whiteboards. That's where I really got my start with tracking. I can still remember the second Team Cup challenge I was in. Our team came in eighth. Of course, that was, before we had 400,000 coaches. But I had a whiteboard, and I have this whiteboard here, and I had a pipeline. And every time I would only track people that kind of moved into that interested point. So I wasn't tracking every conversation I had. I was just tracking the interested. So I would invite them, and if they said, yeah, I have some goals, I'm interested, then they'd go on my pipeline. Since then, I've done Excel spreadsheets. I've used of course, the business activity tracker. Right now, I'm playing around with TeamZ. So that was one of my, that's one of my 10X things, is to 10X my organization. So, Facebook Messenger is really how I've tracked my business for years. I mean, other than keeping track, like I said, with a business activity tracker and just using my day planner, like I keep tick marks, I'll just tick mark, my number of invites and my number of contacts, and then I'll transfer them over to my BAT. But I think you have to find a system that works for you, but you've got to track one or the other, because if it's all up here, I don't believe you. And when I'm working with coaches and, I ask them to send me their tracker, and I don't care which one they use. You can use the powers of 3, you can use the 4s of this and the business activity, whatever you want. I don't care. Like, we have people in our group right now that are sending a screenshot of their Teamsy, like their dashboard. I mean, just as long as you're tracking. Because if you tell me that I'm doing all the things you've asked me to do and I can't see that, then I can't help you. It's just like when people in your challenge group say, oh yeah, I'm eating right. But if you can't see what they're eating, then you can't help them.
Yeah.
Chances are they're not eating right. So.
I'm so huge on tracking. And right now I was using Google Sheets, and I'm just now moving over to Google Streak. So I'm like so huge on that, but I do think, like you said, just find your way. I'm the emerald gem out of the 4 gems or something that there are. So I'm like very much to-do lists and like 6 steps and like needing an organizational thing. If you're not, that's fine. There's some way for you. You just need to find one, try it. And I would say, how long would you say to try a certain one out for before you give up and move on to something else?
Well, the new thing that I've read in the one thing, which was one of the books I read recently, is they said 60 days to this whole 21 days to make a habit thing. He said it's really 60. So I would definitely give it a good 30 days. I mean, and you have to, that's one thing you can do is say, okay, I'm going to track for 30 days. I'm going to do it. And as much as I hate it, or as much, whatever, you keep doing it, because it's uncomfortable if you're not used to doing it. Like I said, I have tried to do spreadsheets and stuff, and that just makes me crazy. And I think it's a throwback to corporate America. I just rebel against, tools like that. I even have like my whole country heat list is in my notebook. I have 2 pages and 2 columns of country heat people. I was looking for it here. My country heat. This is my tracking. And I have highlighters because I like colors, and I have orange X's and blue highlights and purple pins, and that makes me happy. And, when I do a spreadsheet, I try to do all of that on a spreadsheet, and then I get sidetracked. I'm like, now I'm trying to make my spreadsheet perfect, and I'm not getting my work done. So that's what you have to figure out. Like Samantha said, what, for your gem or whatever it is, what works for you. So, there are coaches, top 10, that are like, I still use a notebook.
Yeah.
So.
One of my coaches is a sapphire, which is like you're focused on fun. Like if it's not fun, you're not doing it. And she's also pen and paper. And so what she does is she uses those highlighters like you have. And like if they're interested, they're yellow. If they say they're going to buy their blue star, she like makes it fun that way. So tracking needs to be done. Just do it however you want.
Anytime if your upline asks to see your list, you should have one. If they ask to see your numbers, you should be able to provide them. So just think of it that way. And if it's a screenshot of your notebook, then that's that.
Okay, my last question that I had for you, since I do know, I think like 70% of the people on this call are emeralds or above. So if you had like 1 or 2 tips on how do you help your coaches get hungry? How do you help them find their passion? If you have tips on that.
Yeah, that's a challenging one. What I'm doing, I think, a better job of this year is I am just, number one, when you're getting started right call, you need to know why they're doing this. And as you've heard before, don't just stop with I want to help people, but you try to find out. Kind of more, not just, like when your challengers say, well, I want to lose weight and tone up. Okay, well, how much weight? What does that mean to you? So I do try to, find out more about that. Being a red personality and a very strong introvert, small talk and all that's not my natural tendency. So I've, again, through personal development, learned a lot about just, being more curious and asking more questions. So, I've started having, like, with my newer coaches for a period of time, spending more time talking with them on the phone, getting into text conversations, and reminding them. The one thing I've started doing is asking them, do I have your permission to remind you of this? Do I have your permission to remind you of this that you told me? This is why you want to do this. I think that's really probably the best thing I could recommend is, bringing them back to that. This is what you told me. And if that's changed, then let's talk about it. Let me update my notes. But is this still what you want to do? And sometimes they might say, well, no, it's different. But ask if you have their permission to remind you of their why.
I love that. In order to remind them, we have to remember what it is. So do you just write that down in a notebook or something?
Well, yes, I've done that in many different ways, seeing as how I have an issue with organization. But yes, I have that about me form that a lot of us use. And right now I print those off and I put them in a notebook so that whenever I do a call with them, I can just pull it out and make additional notes on it. With some of my more advanced coaches, I started index cards. So again, these are coaches that are in my diamond group. And so I'm kind of just want to have these real close, real short. I just do all kinds of different things. I'm not the coach that's going to speak on anybody's team call about organization.
And that's okay. You don't have to.
I left my emerald back in corporate America. I used to be in charge of business process and planning.
Wow.
I think I've just rejected. I'm just like not ever going to be organized or planned ever again.
The opposite of what you did before.
I'm just the opposite, yeah.
That's funny. All right, thanks, Deb. Does anyone else have any questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, I have one. Deb, so I feel like I'm in the place right now. So I'm in Emerald. I've been in about 4 months. And I've really kind of tapped into my warm market, and I feel like there's definitely still potential there. But I feel like what's really going to make the difference is making that jump from my warm market into cold market or beyond or whatever. How would you say? I feel like that's a silly question, how, but like, was there something or a point where you could say that you really felt like you made that shift or kind of made that jump?
I had 2 points. When I first started as a coach, my philosophy has always been you will build your business not on who you know today, but on who you get to know tomorrow. And again, being an introvert, being, my Facebook page was private. All of my social connections were at work. So again, when I started building I couldn't really do a lot of, with the people that I was friends with on Facebook. So I have always added new people, and I'm just so religious about adding new contacts. I didn't really work on my warm market. I was that person. Number one, I couldn't, being in the position I couldn't go to my coworkers and, ask them to buy something from me, but I would share on my Facebook, and if they came to me, then I could talk to them about it. But I really had to start actively going out and finding new people. And so, I did that. I did different groups. And back in the day, that was easier. I think you could get more with groups like running groups and, even on the Beachbody pages. I made connections there. And today there's just a lot of policy about not, really doing that on those pages. I wasn't creepy about it. I wasn't creepy like some people, but I made connections. Today I'm just religious. I still to this day, I add friends of friends, mutual friends. I just go through when I have spare time, I'll just sit here and I look at the Facebook recommendations and I just start at friend request. I always thank them for accepting my friend request, and I try to just, let them know I see you. Thanks for the ad. I didn't just friend request you. I'm never ever going to talk to you. So that's what I've always done. And that is how I built my business in the first few years. It's just by expanding my network on Facebook on my personal profile page. I got to a point probably about maybe 3 years in when it seemed like, the rate that I wanted my business to grow, that process was too slow. So that's when I started working on a like page, and I'm still working on my like page. No, I've had times with my like page. I mean, that's brought a ton of new stuff into me, a new business, new coaches. You know, there's been times when it's worked really, really well, and times when just like everybody were like, what's up with the like page? So I definitely think that's, you know, that's two things. I really advocate working your personal profile page, adding as many new people there as you can every single day. And then I think the like page is definitely, you know, when you know how to use it, work it right, you'll get more people. Long answer to that short question.
That's a great one, though. And I personally have found in my business that this year, my new coaches do awesome their first 2 months, like incredible, like new coach there at Success Club 12. And then their third month or their fourth month, they fall off. And I realized that it's because they're not expanding their network. They only work with their warm market. So that's one thing I try to tell all my new coaches is day one, go add 5 new friends.
Yes,
I don't think you can ever have too many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that quote you said. I wrote it down. You'll build your business not on who you know today, but who you get to know tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, so many coaches, I mean, they're like, oh, you know, I don't know anybody, or I've talked to all my family and they've told me just to get lost, and they've even started unfriending me. And I'm just like, well, number one, what kind of family do you have? That's just mean. But, you know, I shied away. I mean, I did talk to my closer friends about it, and none of them signed up. To this day, none of them are coaches, and they are not customers. That hurt my feelings and made me feel bad, but I wasn't gonna let that stop me. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna talk to a bunch of people I don't know. That's better.
Yeah, awesome. All right, you guys. Well, it's been an hour, so I'm going to cut us off. If you guys have any more questions for Deb, feel free to just message me or just post them in our personal page, and then I'll reach out to Deb tomorrow probably if we have any. But thank you guys for hopping on, and thank you, Deb, for presenting to us and sharing that. I took so many notes and thought it was super helpful. So thank you.
Have a nice night.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.